Don't be afraid to be the fool. Yes, you heard me right. Don't be afraid. Because the fool is the person who dares, the person who tries, the person who takes the first step when everyone else hesitates. The fool looks awkward at first. The fool makes mistakes. The fool gets laughed at. And that's exactly why the fool succeeds. Because growth begins outside comfort. Because courage begins where fear lives. Because mastery begins when you take action, before you feel ready. Today, we'll dive deep. We'll uncover why being the fool is not a weakness, but your greatest strength. We'll explore how every expert started small, how mistakes become wisdom, and why the person willing to risk looking foolish is the person who eventually becomes unstoppable. Let's be honest. Most people avoid looking foolish. They fear embarrassment. They fear judgment. They fear mistakes. And yet, if you want success, you must be willing to look foolish. Success does not begin with confidence. It begins with courage. The courage to try. The courage to risk. The courage to be the fool. Think about it. Every expert you admire, every leader you respect, every innovator you celebrate, they all started as beginners. They all looked foolish at first. They all stumbled. They all failed. They all risked ridicule. And that is the point. You cannot grow in the comfort zone. You cannot innovate where it's safe. You cannot succeed without risk. If you're not willing to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. Being the fool is not weakness. It is preparation. It is training. It is the price of learning. Look at a child learning to walk. They wobble. They fall. They bump into walls. They look foolish. And yet, they persist. Why? Because they are focused on the goal. They are not afraid of temporary embarrassment. They are not afraid to fail. Success works the same way. You will stumble. You will make mistakes. You will look foolish at times. And that is good. That is necessary. That is the beginning of mastery. Most people avoid this stage. They wait until they know enough. They wait until they feel confident. They wait until they are ready. And life passes them by. The fool, the one willing to risk, to stumble, to try when others hesitate, is the one who eventually becomes unstoppable. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, while failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. Being the fool is a form of discipline. You discipline yourself to act, even when you feel awkward, even when you feel unsure, even when others might laugh. Because the fool who acts gains knowledge, gains skill, gains confidence. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes a step forward. Every awkward moment becomes an opportunity to improve. And here is the irony. The world may laugh at the fool today, but tomorrow they celebrate the master. Those who avoid looking foolish remain stuck, safe, comfortable, ordinary. Those who embrace the fool gain freedom, gain growth, gain extraordinary results. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Be the fool. Ask the question. Take the risk. Try the idea. Start the project. Yes, you may look awkward. Yes, you may stumble. Yes, you may hear laughter. But that is the price of greatness. And greatness is worth paying for. So today, I challenge you. Be the fool. Start small, if you must. Fail if you must. Look awkward if you must. Because the only fools in life are the ones who never try, the ones who never risk, the ones who never dare. Take the first step and embrace the fool within. Your future self will thank you. Success begins with courage. Courage begins with the willingness to be the fool for a little while. Let's be clear. Every expert you admire was once a beginner. Every great leader, every successful entrepreneur, every artist, every athlete, started at the bottom. They didn't start with skill. They didn't start with confidence. They didn't start with perfection. They started small. They started uncertain. They started foolish. The beginner is often misunderstood. The beginner is laughed at. The beginner is questioned. Do you really know what you're doing? Are you sure this will work? Why are you even trying? Sound familiar? Yes, that is the sound of growth, the sound of change, the sound of progress. Every expert has paid that price. Every master has walked through the stage of being the fool. Think about it. The musician starts by hitting the wrong notes. The writer starts by writing terrible sentences. The entrepreneur starts by failing over and over again. And here's the truth. That stage is necessary. You cannot skip it. You cannot cheat it. You cannot avoid it. It is the bridge between desire and mastery. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. The beginner learns discipline. The beginner learns patience. The beginner learns resilience. The beginner discovers the truth. Small, consistent steps lead to big results. Mistakes are not failures. They are tuition for growth. They are the lessons money cannot buy. And here is the most important part. The fool who starts small develops courage. They develop persistence. They develop character. They learn to act despite fear. They learn to fail with dignity. They learn to keep going when others quit. Because being small and uncertain doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are preparing. It means you are growing. Success is predictable. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's hard work and discipline. The beginner who embraces the fool stage lays the foundation for lasting success. They understand growth is incremental. Excellence is built. Mastery takes time. So don't be afraid to start small. Don't be afraid to be the fool. Don't be afraid to look inexperienced. The greatest achievements, the biggest rewards come from those who begin and begin imperfectly. Because every expert was once small. Every master was once foolish. Every success story began with someone willing to take the first step. So today, take your step. Start small. Fail if you must. Look foolish if you must. Because greatness begins where fear ends. And mastery begins where the fool dares to try. Growth does not happen in safety. Growth does not happen in comfort. Growth does not happen when you play it safe. It happens when you take risks, even when you feel uncertain, even when you might look foolish. The truth is simple. Nothing valuable comes without risk. Nothing meaningful is earned without discomfort. Nothing extraordinary is achieved without courage. Most people avoid risk. They stay in their comfort zone. They wait until it feels safe. They wait until the fear goes away. And what happens? They stay average. They stay ordinary. They stay exactly where they are. The fool, however, acts despite fear. They step forward when others hesitate. They raise their hand when others remain silent. They speak their ideas when others remain quiet. If you are not willing to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. Risk is uncomfortable. Risk feels foolish. Risk feels uncertain. And that is exactly why it works. Because when you act in the face of fear, you grow faster. You learn faster. You succeed faster. The entrepreneur who launches a business without a guarantee, the speaker who stands in front of a crowd for the first time, the writer who publishes their first book, they all look foolish at first. They all face doubt. They all face criticism. But every risk taken is a step toward mastery. Every moment you act despite fear builds confidence. Every time you try and fail, you gain wisdom. Here's the principle. The more willing you are to appear foolish, the faster you will grow. The faster you will learn. The faster you will reach success. Because fortune favors the bold. Opportunity follows action. And life rewards courage. Risk does not mean recklessness. It does not mean ignoring preparation. It means taking calculated steps forward, even when the outcome is uncertain. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. The fool who takes risks develops resilience. They learn to handle rejection. They learn to endure criticism. They learn to keep going when the world doubts them. And here is the magic. The more risks you take, the smaller the fear becomes. The less embarrassment matters. The more confident you feel. You stop worrying about looking foolish. You stop fearing failure. You start focusing on results. This is the power of action, the power of courage, the power of being willing to risk it all, even when it feels uncomfortable. Every success story you admire was built by someone willing to look foolish, someone willing to risk it, someone willing to act when others hesitated. And now it is your turn. Step forward. Take the risk. Speak the idea. Start the project. You may stumble. You may fail. You may look foolish, but every step forward brings you closer to mastery, brings you closer to success, brings you closer to the life you deserve. Remember this, the fool who dares eventually becomes unstoppable. The fool is not foolish forever. They start as the fool, but they don't stay there. Every mistake they make, every misstep, every embarrassment is a lesson. Failure is feedback. Mistakes are tuition for growth. And wisdom is earned, not given. The person who avoids looking foolish avoids mistakes. And without mistakes, there is no learning. The fool learns faster. They try, they fail, they adjust, they try again. And with every cycle, they become wiser. Think about it. The child who falls learning to walk doesn't quit. They get up, they wobble, they stumble again, until walking becomes second nature. Success works the same way. You will make mistakes. You will look awkward. You will fail. And that is good. Because every failure teaches you something. Every error sharpens your judgment. Every misstep improves your strategy. Every setback strengthens your resilience. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. The fool who keeps going pays attention, learns, adapts, and grows. Here is something few people understand. Wisdom is not about avoiding failure. Wisdom is about collecting experiences. Experiences that teach. Experiences that refine you. Experiences that build judgment. A fool who embraces learning becomes a strategist, a problem solver, someone who sees opportunity where others see risk. Mistakes are not shameful. They are powerful. They are the building blocks of success. Consider the entrepreneur who launches a product and it fails. They could give up. They could feel embarrassed. They could retreat to safety. But the wise entrepreneur studies the failure, learns from it, improves the next product, and eventually they dominate their market. Every expert has a similar story. Every master has a series of failures behind their success. Every leader has moments they wish they could erase, but those moments shape them. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, while failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. Mistakes become wisdom when reflected upon. Failure becomes power when analyzed. Embarrassment becomes confidence when you persist. And here is the beauty. The more you are willing to look foolish, the faster you grow. The faster you gain wisdom, the faster you move toward mastery. Do not fear looking foolish. Do not fear failure. Do not fear criticism. Fear stagnation. Fear inaction. Fear letting life pass you by. The fool becomes wise, not by avoiding the hard lessons, but by embracing them. They reflect on their failures. They analyze what went wrong. They take notes. They improve. They measure every outcome. They refine every approach. They keep moving forward, no matter how many times they fall. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every embarrassment becomes a badge of progress. Every lesson becomes a tool for success. The timid and cautious never gain this insight. They remain small. They remain ordinary. The fool who acts becomes resourceful, becomes creative, becomes unstoppable. The difference between the fool and the wise is persistence, reflection, and the courage to keep trying. Your mistakes are not punishments. They are investments. Invest wisely. Learn fully. Grow relentlessly. The more you are willing to look foolish today, the wiser you become tomorrow. The fool who persists becomes unstoppable. They turn embarrassment into mastery. They turn risk into opportunity. They turn failure into wisdom. And that is the power of being willing to be the fool. The fool within you is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. That part of you that hesitates, that doubts, that fears embarrassment, that worries about judgment. It is the part that signals growth. It is the part that says, if I act, I can change. It is the part that whispers, if I try, I can learn. Because every time you act despite fear, you expand your limits. Every time you step forward, you strengthen your courage. Every time you risk embarrassment, you grow a little wiser. The truth is simple. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action despite fear. Fear will always exist, but the fool who acts anyway becomes fearless. Think about it. Every successful person, every master, every innovator, they were once terrified. They were unsure. They looked awkward. They made mistakes. They failed in public. And yet, they continued. They persisted. They tried again. They embraced the fool within. They accepted temporary discomfort. They accepted criticism. They accepted failure because they understood something most people never do. The fool who dares wins. The fool who acts grows. The fool who persists masters life. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. When you embrace the fool within, you stop waiting for permission. You stop seeking approval. You stop fearing judgment. You focus on the work. You focus on the process. You focus on improvement. And that focus changes everything. Action becomes habit. Habit becomes skill. Skill becomes mastery. Mastery becomes success. The key is consistency. The key is persistence. The key is refusing to let fear dictate your choices. You will fall. You will stumble. You will look foolish. And that is good, because each stumble is a step forward. Each failure is a lesson learned. Each awkward moment is building your confidence. The world may laugh. The world may doubt you. The world may criticize you. And yet, the fool persists. The fool acts. The fool wins. If you're not willing to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. Embracing the fool within means trying what others avoid, speaking when others stay silent, creating when others wait, leading when others hesitate. It means valuing growth over comfort, progress over perfection, action over approval. It means practicing patience while enduring criticism. It means taking imperfect steps every day. It means showing up even when the odds feel against you. The fool who embraces risk is the one who achieves extraordinary results. The one who dares greatly, lives boldly. The one who fails early and often learns faster than anyone else. Here's something powerful. Every time you risk looking foolish, you expand your resilience. Every time you face doubt, you strengthen your focus. Every time you step into uncertainty, you sharpen your instincts. The more you embrace the fool, the less fear controls you. The less criticism can stop you. The less failure can define you. And eventually, you stop seeing yourself as a fool at all. You see yourself as someone who acts, someone who grows, someone who achieves, someone unstoppable. Your mistakes are not punishments. They are payments. Payments for wisdom, payments for mastery, payments for success. Success is predictable. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's hard work and discipline. The fool who dares becomes wise. The fool who persists becomes fearless. The fool who masters themselves becomes extraordinary. So today, embrace the fool within. Take the risk. Speak the idea. Start the project. Fail if you must. Look awkward if you must. But never stop moving forward. Never stop trying. Never stop daring. Because the fool who dares today becomes the master tomorrow. The fool who persists today becomes the leader tomorrow. The fool who embraces growth today becomes unstoppable forever. And that is the path to true success. Let me leave you with this. Most people spend their entire lives trying not to look foolish. They stay quiet. They stay comfortable. They stay safe. And because of that, they stay the same. But the people who change the world, the people who build extraordinary lives, they were willing to look foolish first. They asked questions others were afraid to ask. They tried things others were afraid to try. They failed where others refused to even begin. And slowly, the fool became the student. The student became the learner. The learner became the master. That is the journey of success. Remember this. Every expert was once a beginner. Every leader was once uncertain. Every master once looked foolish. So do not fear embarrassment.